Hi guys, I'm si Ramin Magbo from 92102 and today I will discuss a quick summary about the CNA 1 Chapter 7 entitled uh, IP Addressing. Now let's get started. IPv4 address is the binary numbering system consists of the number 0 and 1 called bits or the bytes, and IPv4 address are expressed in 32 binary bytes divided into 48 bytes octets. This is commonly expressed in dotted decimal notation. Positional notation is the row identifies the number based on radix. The decimal is 10 and the binary is based on 2, therefore radix will be 2. Binary to decimal conversion is the convert a binary IPv4 address to decimal, enter the 8-bit or the 8-byte binary number of each octet under the positional value of row 1 and then calculate to produce the decimal. Decimal to binary conversion is also convert a decimal IPv4 address to binary. Use the positional chart and check first if the number is greater than the 128 byte. If no, a 0 is placed in the position. If yes, then 1 is placed in the position. The process repeats until all position values have been entered. Decimal to binary conversion examples. And the network and host portions is the composed of network portions and host portion, and is the subnet helps devices identifies the network portion and host portion. This is the IPv4 or the TCP or properties that have a tree configured on the host. The first one is the unique IPv4 address of the host. Second one is the subnet mask that identifies the network host portion, and the default gateway that the IP address of the local router interface. This is the subnet mask. This IPv4 address is compared to the subnet mask byte by byte from left to right. Logical AND. Logical AND is one of the three basic binary operations used in digital logic. It is used to determine the network address. This is the prefix length. It is the shorthand method of expressing the subnet mask, and it equals the number of bytes in the subnet mask set to 1. Network, host, and broadcast address. It is the types of address in a network. For example, is in the network address. Network address host portion is all 0, and the first host address ends with an A1, and the last host is all 1s and ends with O, and the host portion or the broadcast address is all ones. This is the assignment to a host. A host is a smaller network and also be configured with static address, and sometimes some devices like printers, servers, and network devices require a fixed IP address. This is the dynamic IPv4 address, the assignment to a host. Most networks use dynamic host or the DHCP to assign IPv4 address dynamically. It is at least the addresses to a host for a certain length of time. IPv4 communication is the first one is the unicast, broadcast, and multicast. Unicast is one-to-one communication, broadcast is one-to-all, and multicast to the selected group. The first one is the unicast transmission that use the address of the destination devices as the destination address. The broadcast is the destination IPv4 address has all ones in the host portion and message sends to everyone in the LAN. The multicast is the routing protocol used multicast transmissions to exchange routing information. This is the public and private IPv4 address. The private is the not routable, used only in internal network, and the private address is having 192.168.0.0.2.9.2.168.255.2.5. Special user IPv4 address. It's used on a host to test if the TCP or the IP configuration is operational. It is used for teaching and learning that commonly known as the Atomic Private IP Addressing or the APIPA address. Legacy class pool addressing have class A, class B, class C, and the classes addressing is ways of wasted addresses and exhausted the availability of IPv4 address. The IPv6 versus IPv4. The IPv6 have needed a rapidly increasing internet population and Internet of Things. IPv4 and IPv6 coexistence that dual stack tunneling translations. The dual stack devices run both IPv4 and IPv6 protocol stack simultaneously, and the tunneling is the encapsulated inside an IPv4 packets, and the translation is the network address translation or the NAT64 that enables device to communicate IPv4 devices. This is the IPv6 address representation. It have 128 bytes in length, and every 4 bytes is represented by a single hexadecimal digit. It is called a hextet, an unofficial term referring to a segment of 16 bytes of 4 hexadecimal values. Rule number 1 is in order to reduce or compress IPv6, the first rule is to omit leading zeros in a hextet. Rule number 2 is the double colon that can replace any single, and then the unicast, multicast, and anycast is the unicast single source, and the multicast is used to send a single to multiple destination, and anycast is unicast address that can be assigned to multiple devices. IPv6 prefix length, the prefix length can range from 0 to 128. And the IPv6 unicast address having a global unicast, linked local, and unique local. Global unique Global unicast is the internet routable address, and linked local used to communicate with other devices on the same local link, and unique local is within site or between a limited number of sites. IPv6 linked local are created even if the device has not been assigned a global unicast. And this is the structure of the IPv6 global unicast address. The first one is the global routing prefix or the subnet ID and the interface ID. Global unicast address has three parts. The first one is the global, the network portion of the address that is assigned by the provider, typically over on 48, and the subnet ID is used to subnet within an organization, and interface ID equivalent to the host portion of an IPv4. Static configuration of a global unicast. It is a similar commands to IPv4 replace IPv4 with IPv6. Host configuration is manually configuring the IPv6 address on a host is similar to configuring an IPv4 address. Dynamic configuration or the SLAC, the statelet address that device can obtain its prefix line, and default gateway address and other information from IPv4 router. Dynamic configuration is use stateless server for other information, and then It is randomly generated interface ID. Windows use a randomly generates interface ID. Dynamic linked local address is the local address can be established by dynamically or configured manually. Its drawback to using the dynamically assigned linked local address is the long interface ID. Therefore, they can often configure statically. Manual configuration of the linked local address allows the creation of simple, easy to remember address. And commands to verify IPv6 is the show IPv6 interface brief and show IPv6 route. Assign IPv6 for multicast address. There are two types of multicast address. The first one is assigned multicast and the solicited node multicast. And they have multicast subgroups. The first one is the FFO2 and all nodes multicast groups and the all routers multicast group. Solicited Solicited node multicast allows Internet INC to filter frames under its destination. ICMPv4 and ICMPv6 the message protocol 2 provides the same services and common including the host confirmation, destination of or service unreachable, time exceeding, redirection. Ping. This is a use ping to test the ability of a host to communicate on the local network. It is to test the ability to cross an internet network and the trace route testing the path. This is the utility that generates a list of hops that were successfully reached along the path. Done.